I'm Erica Lynn, and we all know the ocean is the most demanding environment on Earth, consistently testing the reliability and durability of our equipment. When you spend as much time fishing as I do, you know that reliable gear is essential for staying on the water. This is why I went with the Abyss battery to power my trolling motor, electronics, and outboard. The guys at Abyss Battery are rattling the saltwater industry by manufacturing performance marine batteries specifically designed for sonar, outboards, trolling motors, and electronic fishing reels. They're also Bluetooth compatible, so I found checking battery statuses right on your phone while you're out on the water is a huge game changer. To learn more about why Abyss batteries are used by the pros and factory installed by premier boat builders, visit abyssbattery.com.
Welcome to the Western Hunting Hub podcast. It's that time to be planning. If you haven't already, it's definitely for Wyoming, Arizona. Those states have come and gone for application season, but time to be planning for the next seasons and what you're going to be doing. So I am in kind of a funk with that. I don't know really where I'm going. Got somewhat of a plan, but just kind of is going to evolve through the application season. And I feel like that's kind of the way I usually do it. But I've got backup plans and can fill a season with more things than I will have time to do. So that's kind of the route I'm taking. But we all should be working on our off-season shape as well. Jiu-jitsu is my route this go around this year, on top of just went on my first shed hunt of the year, just a little walk, couple mile walk with my youngest, and loved hearing him chirp in my ear. That was one of my favorite things about a 1 to 3 year old, is having him just chirp in your ear, talking while you got him on your backpack. Kind of fun. Lion hunting has been real rough this year in South Dakota. We just haven't had any snow, so it's been a very difficult hunt. My tag's gonna just burn, I guess. I'm not gonna use it, but that's another great way to make sure you're working on your off-season shape. Next, I am working on hiring somebody. Hiring somebody for nothing, which is going to be a tall order. And I know that if something doesn't pay anything, then nobody's going to really want to do it. But I'm doing this and I'm not getting paid. I actually pay a little bit of money after what I make doing this, after all the gear and monthly services and all that stuff. So, we're going to be looking for somebody to help with organized episodes and communication and all kinds of different things there. There's some opportunities that I think someone could really enjoy growing something with me. But I'm going to be super picky in who I'm going to work with. So I'm going to work on that, see who would be interested in working together and creating a bigger, better podcast with me. So the Wolves stuff is definitely old news now, but the comments are making me think about, just it's too late to be having the kind of comments that are being thrown around. I Hunt Colorado, that old Facebook page, man, that's all it is like a wolf sighting, wolf bashing pod or Facebook page, and not so much a cool sharing of outdoor Colorado hunting stuff anymore. But there's a there's good reason though to be upset, but there's a lot of and because I think there's a lot of shady, dirty, secretive stuff along with um holding Colorado Parks and Wildlife and the voters accountable for the wolf release. Seems to be some just weird ways of going about it. Commissioners not hearing about release, certain commissioners not hearing about the release and where it is until they saw it on social media. That sort of thing is pretty shady. And I don't really like how some of that's happening on top of the whole situation as well. But um, it's too late really for any of this. But what we can do is what Coloradans, and other hunters need to do is focus on the next attack, but also hold Colorado Parks and Wildlife accountable for this wolf release and what they're doing with it. They need to be sticking to the plan, and they need to be also keeping landowners and livestock producers in mind. But as far as that new attack, we have just hit a very steep portion of the slippery slope. The wolf thing is added to it, but It is a steep, slippery slope. And the cool thing is there's now some funding and some well backing to combating what's happening in Colorado with the trophy hunting removal, they're calling it in a way, the mountain lion, bobcat, and lynx ban, hunting ban. But there are a few ways that you can help. Uh, Coloradans for Responsible Wildlife Management is the organization leading the way. You can donate directly to them. Um, you can, if you're a Coloradan voter, you can vote in the right way, which is just the most ridiculous way to do wildlife management. But you can vote and have those conversations, make it aware that this is what's happening. And I used the other day with some Colorado voters that the example of how ridiculous the wolf management was, and they agreed that that was really dumb. They're non-hunters, but they agreed that that was really dumb. And the mountain lion thing is no different. It's the exact same thing. It's as dumb as the wolf release. So make sure that you're having good quality conversations. I did not say how it was dumb, but I talked through it as a this is a result, this is what's going to happen. And they're in total agreement. So having those good conversations, quality conversations with folks is something that we have to make sure we're doing. Talk about it, but talk about it with respect in a way that can actually do something. And with that, you have to be careful of the divisive talk and support each other in how we hunt and what we hunt. So I think that's very, very important as hunters. You've all heard me complain about certain things too, but um, I'm learning from that. And just like the rifle caliber choice, I don't really care. I also just don't want certain calibers shoved down my throat. But anyway, we're going to support each other in how and what we hunt because we're a small family and represent this community really well. So the seasons are done, and I really don't feel super great about the amount of time I spent and I got in the field, and that had to do with some of my work stuff. But I had some really great adventures and memorable hunts over this last fall, but it just is never enough. The previous episodes, they're all connected. 181 to 183. There is a bonus Howl episode in there as well, so you'll see that. But so in these episodes, it's all about R3, which is recruitment mainly, but it also includes retention and reactivation, as those are a part of it as well. Oftentimes, reactivation happens the same time recruitment happens. As you're focusing on recruitment, it kind of goes hand in hand on things. It just depends on who that clientele is. But this is a topic that I feel very knowledgeable on. I think and act on it every single day. It's a reason for this podcast. It's a reason for my job. However, I know I've got more to learn, and I did from the previous episodes for sure. I've had on a few folks with firsthand experience to share that experience, plus the stories, and a little touch of cuteness in there to see what's really happening. As always, thanks for listening. You can keep updated on what's new in the podcast on my Instagram and Facebook at Western Hunting Hub. So I brought in a very special little guest. I have a 5-year-old here with me today. He's with me every day, but we did a pretty awesome hunt. And so, Ty, this is your very first podcast that is being recorded. You've been pretty excited. Are you excited to be in a podcast? Yep. You've been wanting to do a podcast with me for a while, but what hunt did we go on this year?
Deer hunt.
We went on a deer hunt. What kind of deer?
Um, White-tailed deer.
Good job. They're white-tailed deer. And tell me about that hunt. What did we do?
Um,
Did we get up super early?
yes.
Yes. Yes. I got up super early. We went for a long drive. Okay.
Long drive.
Yep. We went for a long drive. And then we Did what? We went. Okay, go ahead.
So,
What was that big thing we went and sat in?
a rock.
No, no, rock. Big blind. Did we get?
Yeah, a blind
Yep. And what did we see right away?
deer.
Yep, we saw lots of deer, didn't we? Yep.
Yes.
And our friend Lance, what did he do first?
Shot the deer.
Yeah, he got two deer first, and then it was my turn, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What happened then?
Um, you got some.
Yep, I got my two deer. And then what did we do?
Um,
We had to field dress them. We had to gut them.
we had got some.
Yep, get the stuff out of their bellies, and so that we could take them home. And we were able to drive right up to them, so that wasn't a big deal. But what was your favorite part of that hunt?
Uh, getting the deer.
Getting the deer. That's a pretty big deal to you. Did you like getting up early?
No.
No, you didn't. No. Did you like hanging out with your friend?
Yes.
Yep, got to hang out with your friend. Did you like all the snacks?
Yes.
You don't talk that close to the mic, just right there. That'll work.
Yes.
Yeah, we had lots of fun. And do you want to go again?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you say what did you want to do some hunting?
Yes.
What did you want to hunt?
Um, a elk.
Oh, you want to go hunt an elk? Yeah. Weren't we talking about maybe doing some turkey this year?
Yes.
Do you have any answers besides yes? Anything to say besides just yes? Why do you like going hunting with me?
'Cause it's fun.
What's so fun about it?
Um, 'Cause I get to spend time with my daddy.
Oh, that's nice. And what do we get to see cool things?
Yes.
Like what?
Birds
Hmm?
and stuff.
What do you always point out that's on the ground?
Deer poop.
Yep, all the deer poop and tracks. And what do you point out that's on the trees?
Rubs.
Yep, the rubs and the scrapes in the ground. Very good. Do you want to be a hunter?
Yes.
Why?
'Cause I wanna see more animals,
Yeah.
and 'cause I wanna make some animals out of these.
Oh, you want to have some things on the wall like
Yes.
that? Okay. What about eating them? Do you like eating them?
Yes.
What's your favorite?
Bear.
Ooh, you like bear?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Do you like the sausage or steak best, or do you like the fish, or what do you like?
Um, Fish.
Okay. Yeah, you gobble up all of it. What else have we done recently? Do
Um,
we go ice fishing?
yes.
Yep. Was that a good time? You like ice fishing, don't you?
Yeah.
What do you like about ice fishing?
Um, Reeling in the fish.
Oh yeah. And what things have we got coming up that we're gonna do outside here pretty soon?
Uh,
The springtime is coming. What do we do in the spring?
uh, Shoot some animals.
Like what?
Um,
I don't do a lot of it, but maybe some turkey. Okay.
Turkey.
Would you be interested in going turkey hunting?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, what do we have to do before that though?
Uh,
Remember after our hunt that day, we came back and we did something outside in the yard.
Practice shooting.
Yeah, we needed to practice shooting, and in order for you to be able to shoot an animal, we got to spend some time in the yard, right? and do some practice
Mm-hmm.
shooting your gun?
Yeah.
Yep. Do you think you could handle a shotgun or a crossbow?
Yes.
Maybe with some practice. Maybe we'll start with a crossbow, see how that goes. But uh do you think when you get older you want to be a hunter?
Yes.
What animal do you really, really want to go hunting the most?
Peacock.
Okay. Okay. Uh, you're funny. But you've done a bunch of hunts with me, haven't you? You've
Yeah.
gone elk hunting when you were just a little boy. You've gone deer hunting with me every single year. You go shed hunting. You do go do a bunch of different things, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And do you always like those trips?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. I like them too. They're one of my favorite hunting buddies, you and Colt. So I think that's the end of the year portion of this podcast. Okay. Got any more to say
Um,
about?
thank you.
Thank you for listening. There you go. Okay, why don't you run up and go to bed? Well, there you have it. Pretty short and sweet little answers. Lots of yes, yes. Open-ended questions. Only he'll get so far with a 5-year-old, but he sure enjoys going out with me. There's plenty of time when it's just crying, when it's just wanting to eat, and it's a short, abrupt hunt. But you can tell that the takeaway is there, and he enjoys it. So all right, that little portion with my son was is a piece of this. We need to understand first what R3 is, and I'll come back to where the youth fit into this. But the Council to Advance the Shooting Sports defines R3, or recruitment, retention, and reactivation, as it is a nationwide movement focusing on strategically increasing and diversifying participation in and support for shooting sports, hunting, and angling. So there is a pretty solid model out there that they put together. It's called the ORAM model, Outdoor Recreation Adoption Model. It kind of breaks down each one of those: recruitment, retention, and reactivation. Just to give you the organization of this. In recruitment, you have the first step within that, and steps, or maybe it's just bullet points, but you have some awareness of something. In this situation, I'll use this as a step one, two, three. An awareness of something underneath recruitment. Okay, we're aware that archery elk hunting is a thing, or let's just archery deer. That is a thing that is, you hear maybe some your buddies talking about it. We start that awareness. Then that transfers into a level of interest. There has definitely been a couple of outdoor activities in my lifetime that I said, I'm not jumping into it, not jumping into it. And then later on, here I am jumping into it. So I had that awareness of what it was, but something in there needed to strike that interest. And maybe that was my peers, my friends, whatever it was around me, talking about it, doing it, and then I need to try it. That the most recent example of that would be spearfishing. That was one of those that I said I'm aware of it. Not going to jump into it for about a year. I said that because I just don't have the time and energy and money to do that. So that wasn't going to happen. And then I had a friend suggest, and that sparked the interest. And then someone invited me, and there was a trial period in there. Okay, that is recruitment. So we're aware of something, we've expressed some interest, and we've tried it. Okay, then from there it is our decision to continue, or how do we continue? And that is the retention part. Do we continue? And the best way to keep people retained is to continue with a little bit of support. And even if that is not just taking someone out necessarily, that can be me doing this all on my own. I'm watching YouTube videos. That is support from said YouTube channel, or I'm continuing it without support, and that's what you're eventually trying to get to. I'm going to eventually run out of YouTube videos. Eventually going to run out of that hand holding support of someone showing me, taking me, wanting to hold my hand through it. So I need to get out there and do it on my own. That's what retention is. And after you've uh, gone through that trial period in recruitment, then you've continued with the learning process and continuing to see if do I like this, and then we can just somewhere in there, I know it's super gray area, you can say you're a angler, you're a spearfisherman, you're a hunter, and giving a title to that is not important whatsoever. But somewhere in there you may have a lapse. Maybe you tried it and you had a kid and you stopped doing that for years on end. So the last piece of that is reactivation. So when you've had a lapse in this model, there can be some reactivation pieces, such as maybe when that kid grows up to be a 5 year old, you now say, I'm going to get back into fishing and we're going to go do some bobber fishing for bluegills. That's how you can reactivate yourself or someone else. But again, recruitment, retention, reactivation, throughout the whole thing, there is continued support, hand holding, resources that are used, mentorship, many different things like that. So my thought was as to why should we care necessarily about this? It's been a pretty universally accepted model and thing. It's pretty difficult to disagree with, but there are some of those out there. Why is this different than past generations? And why should we care uh, that people care that the middle 90% think about this? So my thoughts on this is that this is very different than say the baby boomers generation where you were a hunter angler or you weren't, and you got into things a little differently. uh you kind of grew up, it was a part of a lot of households. There was not a lot of adults getting into hunting outside of the what they outside of they weren't just picking that up at 25 years old. Most likely, it just was something that was a part of the culture. Well, now it seems to be that some of that's lacking. There's not as much of that cultural. Well, there is plenty of culture, but not as much. There's not enough of the families passing that on. So we need to be looking at other ways of recruiting new hunters. And then the other thought I had is that I having a I don't care what other people think attitude is not the best. Like I said earlier, we need to support our community by showing representing our community well. And there's 5% roughly hunters, anglers, sportsmen, and there is 5% antis. Everybody else is in the middle. So that 90%, we need to be representing ourselves well so that now when it is on a ballot as a mountain lion hunter in Colorado, you are not on the chopping block to get your activity removed as a possibility, most likely forever from that state. So I have a pretty strong feelings towards how and why this is important. Bullet pointed those into advocacy. We need to have advocates for our sports, whether they do it or not. I like to have we should all have friends that know what we're doing and be in support of it. Uh, because we've had those conversations and they just may not participate in it, but yet they think what we're doing is pretty cool. Maybe someday you'll take them. That'd be my wife. She's an advocate. She'll vote for the things that we voted on the wolf thing when we were in Colorado. And I told her, don't you dare, don't you dare vote for that as a yes. So anyway, yeah, the other reason, voting. The next reason why we need to be recruiting more people is to have a voice. The 5% on the anti side have a very, very loud, strong voice. So we need to be combating that with our strong, loud voice. Next, we need to keep hunting here. Make it something that's a thing that can be done for generation and generation to come. We also need to make sure that we take care, recruit new hunters, and take care of what we have right now because of habitat. We need to make sure we are needing to be responsible stewards of the land, and if we can keep more hunters, putting more money into it, then we're going to increase habitat or maintain the habitat we need. And hunting is one of our best management resources for dealing with the biological side of things. So that is the other reason. If we can't have hunters, we're not going to manage these populations the appropriate way, and it's just not going to work out best for wildlife.
On average, it takes about 30 days for a person to break their New Year's resolution. So if saving money was on your 2024 list, your odds aren't really looking that great. Luckily, I have a 100% guaranteed way to save you money this year. Just switch to Mint Mobile right now. Mint Mobile has wireless plans starting at just $15 a month. That's unlimited talk, text, and data for $15 a month. If you save as much as I think you're going to, you are going to be able to afford a brand new rod and reel. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. To get your new wireless plan for $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/waypoint. That's mintmobile.com/waypoint. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/waypoint. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
So another conversation that you hear frequently is that we've lost hunter numbers. Hunter numbers have gone down, but then you see the trailhead say something different. And so we hear more people are hunting in the West, they're moving this way, they're hunting more seasons. Well, what the heck is it? It's a very difficult thing to pull up some data that says, here's hard numbers. But their hunter numbers almost seem to be they're used to better the conversation from what I've noticed. Suddenly the hunter numbers are decreasing when we need it to make it look like we need more hunters and we need things going up in the right direction. And then hunter numbers are going up when we see that things are working. That's how I've been seeing it in conversation, that suddenly hunter numbers are decreasing or they're decreasing based on what our outcome is for the conversation. That doesn't seem right. Or maybe we just don't know exactly. And it's just one of those, not a really solid data set to really understand it. I do think we can agree, though, that hunter numbers are increasing in the West. We've seen that. Even though they're said to be decreasing. But here's what it is and why the data is confusing. Hunter numbers are increasing, but decreasing per capita. So that's what I'm seeing and I'm understanding from the data, that we are having an increase in hunters, but we are just becoming less and less of a voice per capita, which is not really gaining a whole lot of ground if it is a voting world. So, which it apparently is in some of these states. So, according to the Council to Advance Hunting and Shooting Sports, that I pulled up some stuff. There's a 2022 special report on hunting and shooting sports that it obviously goes up and down, but there is some from 2001, 2006, 2011, 2016, and 2022. There has been a continual increase in the total participants in anglers, hunters, wildlife watchers. And even if we remove that wildlife watchers, because people are going to call themselves that, as even though they're antis, total anglers has increased. Total hunters has never been bigger, and they're we've we have started to make a COVID correction already from that 2020 huge increase of anglers. 2021, I think they went down a little bit, but then back up in 2022 and 2023. But things have, according to all of these numbers by a very reputable organization, we are seeing an increase in hunting, fishing, and other wildlife related activities. So our numbers are going up, but not enough to take care of the if we're looking at it percentage wise, our percentage is still going down. So it depends on how an organization is presenting the data to show what our hunter numbers are doing. So I guess we could say if it is, and this is my understanding of it, I'm going to give reasons for reasons for reduced numbers and reasons for increased numbers. The reasons for reduced numbers or reduced per capita, I believe a lot of that is resulting because of the lack of acceptance, the lack of opportunities involved. Like Nevada, you have very little opportunity, even as a resident in Nevada, to draw a deer tag. So a lot of those guys are looking outside of the state to do some hunting, other than small game and all kinds of other good things. There's a lot of cultural changes, and maybe this isn't as much of a family thing anymore. How many more small family farms were there back in the last 40 years to compared to now? That those small family farms, I heard something the other day, they're slowly being less and less, and that's going to be a part of that. You're going to have a cultural change where you have less of those families growing up to become hunters. It is now harder to draw, probably in just about every state. Harder and harder to draw, and without folks doing the research on that, they may end up drawing nothing at all. So that is probably one of those things I'm going to say is going to contribute to being a reason for definitely reduced numbers. And then also, there's also more and more looking west and other states for those easier to get tags. Not sure why I put that under the reduce thing, but Colorado and Montana are just those prime examples of places where people are going. I'm going to switch that over to the increased numbers, why it seems that way. And then the other reasons for increased numbers are it's easy and there's tons of easy information out there. Podcasts like this and ones that are heard a lot more, those are easy, free information. YouTube, all of that. Awareness of hunts, having that posted on social media and other places, podcasts, allow that information out there. Like shed hunting probably wasn't a thing before social media by most. And it obviously grew with social media, making that oh, you can go do that thing. Oh, that's pretty cool. I'm going to go do that. And there obviously has been people doing that for decades, but many people didn't get into it until they saw things online. The a great example is there's a cool opportunity here on a little reservoir where you can go like right at in the evening and go catch smelt. Like a 5 gallon bucket load of smelt is your daily bag limit. I think that'd be so cool, but nobody knows. Not many people know about that. Know anything where to go, how to catch them, that sort of thing. But super fun hunt or fishing trip. And I look forward to doing that someday. Same thing with the spearing, summer spearing or dark house spearing. That has gained all kinds of awareness and increased in the numbers of people doing that. And then another one, I think a reason for increased numbers across the West and other spots is not being able to hunt in your home county. Most of the time, people a few decades ago would just hunt your county close to home. Now we're traveling and putting that impact elsewhere. So one of my jobs is to recruit new hunters and help them through that process. And what I've learned is what is our best use of time, money, and resources. And when you search new hunters or discuss new hunters with anybody, the very first thing out of their mouth or in the Google search, which I did, was youth. Youth, youth, youth. That's all you see and hear. That is the primary focus. And I disagree with a good chunk of putting all of our focus on youth. I know I just have my kid on, so I wanted to show that I do care about that. But if I'm wanting to increase numbers very effectively, very drastically, then I need to be targeting adults ages 18 to 34. That's what research shows. But let's talk about this youth and family before you get upset. So the youth are still the next generation that needs to be taught. And this is how, like the families that have the support, that youth that has a dad, mom, grandma, grandpa, whoever that does that activity. My family is a perfect example. It has been passed down from multiple generations of grandpa to dad to me to me to my kid. And we were hunters. That's how that got passed down. That interest was there. Perfect example. Families, keep just doing that. That's great. But if that's all we really put a ton of focus in, that's not enough. There has to be a lot more because the families that do that and are successful with it are somewhat addicted to some portion of the outdoors. Some people that do this leisurely may fall off and have that lapse in their decision to continue to enjoy the outdoors. So you have to have that family support and the almost addictiveness of, okay, I'm going to drag a 3-year-old out in the woods. I'm going to drag an 8-year-old out in the woods. It's a lot of work and you're going to lose participants because it is so much work. You need to just keep doing that. Keep the family going. That's great and important. I'm going to do the same thing, but it only works with families that have that support. Rarely, but occasionally you do get the neighbor, the friend of the family, whatever that takes somebody out. Yes, that happens. Do that. That's great if you can continue to have support for that. I would almost suggest if that were a starting that mentorship maybe in that 12 to 15, 16-year old so that when they become an 18-year-old, they can continue on their own and do that activity. That would be a great option. Um, but some of the very young participation may not stick. Uh, and I think that's some of the hard truth that that youth, just like in that R3 model, has to have continued support. Even as an 18, 19-year-old, they've got no money, most likely, and they can't access. I remember at that time in 2005 when gas prices were $4 something, and I had a F-150 that got 12, 13 miles a gallon. I could not go very far. And when I did, it just cost me a lot of money, messing up the amount of things I got to do. And I know that I would have gotten into a lot more of some different outdoor activities, hunting, fishing related, had those gas prices not gone down. I would have traveled more for waterfowl instead of having some crappy little hunts nearby. And I would have traveled more for ice fishing and that sort of thing. But instead, I dealt with the small perch and getting skunked every once in a while. So that's the youth. You got to have continued support. The new adults, new hunters, there is a ton of people out there, ages 18 to 34 and older than that. They have a lot of interest in procuring their own food. Your locavores. They have a means, most of them. They have an understanding of costs. They can budget. They hopefully they can purchase things. They can drive themselves places. So as an 18 to 34-year-old, it is a very solid opportunity to get new hunters involved. And they're the ones that can go to a banquet and spend some money. They're the ones that can donate to the Colorado for Responsible Wildlife Management. So if we were to look at what is our greatest efficiency of increasing hunter numbers, it needs to happen with multiple ways. We have to have our youth taken care of by our hunting families, but then targeting our adults. If you don't have a youth in your life or a way of supporting a youth all the way through the age where they can get going on their own, then I would suggest looking at some of your coworkers and friends and those people that are expressing interest and take them out. There is a difference, however, in the types of hunts with each one. I have noticed I've taken plenty of youth and I've taken a lot of adults out, and that's where some of these opinions come about in getting to experience both of them. The again, families with support are being able to continue on. The families without support, I've seen that data and it doesn't always work. They got to have some support. Hopefully, they come back to it later in life, but that's a big hopefully. There is a huge lapse in time where they may not be able to do anything until they become of age to get out and buy a gun and take care of and have a few funds to do it. But some of the differences I have seen taking youth versus adults is the adults that are wanting to learn something are loaded with questions that are just really cool questions. They are super engaged, like really engaged. I will say there's nothing better than watching my kid when I stuck a little doe during archery season with him and his excitement. There was nothing like that. An adult getting excited, I don't care about that. But that kid, it was absolutely exciting. For the feel good for me and the relationship of my kid, that was super rewarding. But for the rewarding feel good for the hunting world and the future of hunting, I take out those adults and families. I help to empower those families to get out to do those things. And they include your 12 to 18-year olds and then also the adults. They're by themselves or as a couple, they have an interest, but they just don't know how to do it. They don't know what gear. There's a lot of barriers. The firearms, the access, and the know-how of a dead animal on the ground are the three major barriers that I've seen. And if you can work through that with somebody, you're going to do some great things to get people in the field. Some of the best methods I've pinpointed are to get involved with an organization doing mentored hunts. If you're in South Dakota, on the east side or west side, there is an organization called South Dakota Youth Hunters that takes youth out. You can be a mentor to them. That's one. You can get involved in my program. Look up Hunting 101 with the South Dakota Game Fish and Parks, where you can become a mentor and take people out hunting and fishing. And that's my program, and I love it, and it's awesome. But the you can get involved. That's one method of if you don't have anybody, you don't know where to connect with. But for adults, honestly think that's probably the easiest. There's always people asking. Become a mentor to them. What I would do though is set guidelines, set expectations, set rules ahead of time. Say lay out the expectations of what they're looking for, what you're going to do to help. And otherwise, you're going to have, if you're like me and you want to hunt alone, but yet you enjoy taking somebody, if you set those expectations that, hey, let's go out on the hunt. And then my goal for you is to get you going on your own. Not that we are going to be hunting buddies forever. Maybe you are going to be hunting buddies forever, but if you can get them in and out and provide that support, you're going to be making a huge difference. So set those guidelines, make your rules, be on call for future hunts, but let them know you want them to be able to get out and do it on their own. Be straightforward with how hunting buddies and groups are determined. That finding a hunting buddy in a group is like dating all over again. And finding just because someone likes to hunt doesn't make them a good partner. Just because you hunt doesn't mean you're a good partner. But finding that person that is safe, that is going to be ethical, help them get through that or help them get out on their own so they're going to be safe. But I really am supportive, that continued support of being on call for that person. If they got it down to elk, deer, whatever, for sure. I can't think of many people that wouldn't just show up to help you pack that out. And then also make sure even if you don't go on a hunt with someone, you can still be a mentor by spending a lot of pre-hunt time and post-hunt time with them, and then on the phone with them after debriefing a hunt on their own. If you go to the range with them, look at maps with them. You don't have to show them any of your own spots, and maybe don't at all. Find new spots with that hunter that they can go and experience. And then follow up and support. That's huge. Another important thing when you're taking someone on a hunt is don't do it for them. You need to walk them through it and allow them to fail, allow them to puncture the stomach if it happens. Even though it's going to mess things up, they got to learn. I do very little cuts on an animal, and I've just got a whole lot of patience. I've got a lot of patience, and that's what it takes. Just to take the time, order it, field dress it, whatever you do, get to the point where they feel good about doing it. It's not enough, but at least they've done it, and they might be able to get their way through it. But keep it simple. I always tell people that All you're doing is getting the nasty stuff out so it doesn't rot from the inside out. That's all you're doing. And if it means that it comes out in pieces, so be it. You can wash it out. You're going to learn. You're going to get better and better. Don't let that be a barrier. Or all you got to do is take the hide off and cut these 4 pieces of meat off. That's what your 4 quarters, your back straps, and your tenderloins. If you can yank those out, it may not be pretty, but again, you'll get better and you'll learn. The next thing I think you should do is introduce it at the right time. And this could be for youth. If you are an adult with a 7-year-old, I think you need to be a lot more careful introducing it to them than if you were an adult with a family and you introduce it to them at years 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What you're doing when you start very early with things is before they even comprehend a whole lot is you're creating a normalcy. It is a normal thing that you have wild game on the table. It is a normal thing that you guys are going for a hike, and you can normalize a little bit of fatigue by walking, normalize the exhaustion, the being a little cold, being a little hot, being a little sweaty. Those are all important life skills to have. And if you can introduce it to them to the right time in the right way, and I think kids could be pretty sensitive in that if you're hitting them in that 5 years old to 10 or 12 years, heck, 18. Anytime after 5 years old, I think you got to be very, very careful in making sure it's the right time and you're introducing them very cautiously. All right. So lastly, get out there and work with some people. Help get with some coworkers. Start talking and hunting over lunch break. Start talking hunting during lunch or during work. And you're gonna find plenty of people that hey, I'd love to go. Hey, I'd love to go. You should take me sometime. That's easy. Or offer it to family members, brother-in-laws, that sort of thing. And if they want to, great. If they don't want to, move on. I've done that with my brother-in-law. I've offered it, said, hey, I'd take it just so you know, it's on the table. Not gonna bug you about it again. But he knows that invite's there. And he didn't take me up on it. There's no way I'm going to pressure him into it. It makes no sense. If he's not into it, he's not going to be into it. And you got to find people that are into it, and there's plenty of them out there. They're looking for resources to be able to figure those things out. So again, I've got my program with the Game Fish and Parks here in South Dakota Youth Hunters. There's another one called learnhunting.org. It's put together by IHEA, which is the International Hunter Education Association, something like that. But that's your hunter education uh, organization, that how hunter education is put together across the nation. That's the main organization. So look up learnhunting.org, and that's a way of, there's some states that are using that to pair hunters with future mentors. And interesting how they're doing that. We may have that in South Dakota, may have that in other states, and they're kind of piloting. I think Iowa has something, but it's a new thing. Might be worth looking into. But I've got another episode coming up here when it's all about youth opportunities, so that you guys don't think I just hate hunting with youth. But I am going to find some of those great opportunities across the West, and what states are places to take your youth. Again, get a new hunter out there, whether that is a young person, an old person, whatever. We need it to increase this awareness and attack on hunting across the West and the East. So thanks for listening and appreciate you all.
Got a deed to the land, but it ain't my ground. This is God's country.